Today at AnimalWised, we bring you a complete guide to the care a puppy needs. If you just adopted a dog for the first time, pay attention to ensure a happy puppy and a healthy adult dog in the future. Bed and blankets. Just before they arrive home, you should buy a comfortable bed for them, as well as blankets for when it's cold. The bed must be suitable for their size, and it's advisable that it be soft. You will also need to locate the bed in a quiet space, but which doesn't exclude them completely from family life. They also need to be away from drafts. Food and water bowls. Although various eating dispensers are available, avoid ones made from plastic as they are less hygienic. They should be suitable for the size of the puppy and placed in a way they can eat from them easily. Water bowls are helpful, but you can also find water fountains which encourage hydration, especially in hot climates. Toys. Play is a fundamental activity for the well-being, health and development of the puppy. When they are young, they also tend to bite due to the pain of their milk teeth being lost. For this reason, having teething toys that help redirect this behaviour towards suitable accessories is essential if we want to prevent damage to the home and ourselves. Discover the best toys for dogs in the info video. Identification tag. Identifying your puppy is crucial to their safety. One of the first things you should do is order an ID tag with their name, your phone number and any emergency info. If they become lost during a walk, the person who finds them should be able to return them easily. We also recommend microchipping your dog for the same purpose. Leash with collar or harness. Using a harness is generally recommended over collars. This is because they are safer for most dogs and prevent damage to their neck if the dog tries to pull away. For the leash, it's best to choose one between 1 and 3 meters in length. Ideally, it should be adjustable, as this can help us give the puppy more freedom when they need it. Remember, you can only take a puppy outside after they are properly vaccinated. Hygiene accessories. Although you should wait for your puppy to have their vaccinations before bathing for the first time, it doesn't hurt to acquire the necessary accessories to give them a bath when they need it. You can buy puppy dog wipes in the meantime. Remember that you should always choose products specific for dogs. Carrier for dogs. The carrier is a basic accessory to carry our dogs by car. It can also be helpful for veterinary visits when they are especially ill. These items should be chosen with the size of the dog in mind. Ideally, they should be able to stand up and roll over when inside, as well as lie down comfortably. Puppy education. Education is crucial if we want to avoid unwanted situations or behaviours. Training helps them to understand how they should behave, and it improves communication while strengthening our bond in the process. Basic puppy education should begin at an early age and can be done yourself or with the advice of a dog trainer. We share a video in the corner where we explain how to educate a puppy. Socialization. Puppy socialization begins around 3 weeks of age and ends around 3 months. It's a process in which the dog learns to relate to all kinds of animals, people and environments. If we don't socialize them correctly, we will see how they don't know how to behave around others. They may show fear, aggressiveness and other behavioral problems. It's essential that a puppy explores fully to prevent these problems. Love. Love, affection and respect are the pillars on which the relationship with your dog must be sustained. Remember that adopting a dog is a commitment that can require between 12 and 16 years of your life. You must be willing to fulfill your obligations and provide the comforts the dog requires. In return, they will reward you with love, protection, companionship and loyalty. Now that you know a puppy's basic needs, let's talk about their diet by explaining how many times they should eat in a day. In general, the frequency with which a dog should eat is greater when they are a puppy, decreasing as they grow. Until 8 weeks of age, puppies should feed on their mother's milk, so we should not adopt them before they are weaned. Separating them prematurely from mother and siblings can harm socialization and lead to future behavioral problems. From the 3rd or 4th week, we can start introducing small amounts of solid food so that the puppies can become habituated. This is as well as, not instead of, breast milk. If the puppy is to be given dry feed, it's best to soften it with a little water. After 6 weeks of life, we can give the dog solid food about 4 times a day, allowing them to continue feeding on their mother's milk. Most often, weaning continues when the mother refuses to feed her little ones. Puppies 2 to 3 months of age should either be weaned or be in the weaning period, requiring solid food about 4 to 5 times a day.
The final number of servings will depend on the breed of each dog, since small or toy dogs will need much less than those of large or giant size. When puppies are 3 to 6 months of age, they are already accustomed to solid food, and we can reduce daily rations to 3 times a day as their development slows. After 6 months and up to their first year of life, the ideal is 2 servings per day. It's essential that changes to the dog's feeding schedule occur progressively. Their digestive system needs to become accustomed gradually. For this reason, we need to offer more daily rations and reduce them with the passage of time. We continue with another fundamental pillar of puppy care, education. Let's find out what a puppy needs to learn to coexist happily. It's important before bringing any puppy into our home that we consider the decision and approve it with all members of the family. Remember that a dog can accompany us for up to 20 years, and your role is their guardian. They will need company, veterinary visits, daily walks, and all of their needs met. In addition, to ensure a puppy delivers a stable character as an adult, we need to adopt them after 2 to 3 months of life. After this point, they will already develop canine language and will have learned from relating to their mother and siblings. We always need to use positive reinforcement when educating and also avoid scolding or punishment. In addition to readying practical elements for the puppy's arrival, such as a bed, bowls, or toys, we need to set some standards and rules. Dogs require routine, so deciding on meal times and walking schedules is important. So too is deciding on rules such as whether or not we allow them on the couch. These rules need to be agreed and applied by everyone in the family. On a puppy's first day in a new home, we need to transmit confidence, calmness, and security. We need to avoid overwhelming them, shouting if they urinate, or enforcing interaction. Let them smell the environment and adapt at their own pace. It's normal for them to be shy at first or even cry at night. We can reassure them in the first few days, but we need to ignore them eventually so we don't reinforce bad behavior. Before vaccinations begin, the puppy shouldn't go outside. We need to teach them to urinate on newspaper by taking them there after eating, walking, or exercising. If they urinate on the paper, we need to reinforce this behavior little by little, making positive associations and encouraging this action in the future. We can start to stimulate their cognition by devoting 5 to 10 minutes per day to basic obedience. These include commands such as sitting and staying. Once the puppy has their vaccinations and has been dewormed, it's time to go outside. We can teach them to urinate outside by taking the paper on the street and following the same procedure as before. It's also vital we socialize them with all kinds of dogs and people to encourage positive social behavior. Of course, all encounters need to be positive because a fight could generate fear and even reactive behavior. When our puppy is between 5 and 6 months of age, we can build upon basic obedience training by practicing sitting, lying, standing, and heeling commands. They are fundamental for proper communication and for the dog's safety. We can use treats, caresses, or kind words to reinforce when they do well. They can start playing games with the aim to stimulate body and mind as part of an active and happy life. We've provided the basics for puppy education, but we'll now get into the specifics by showing you how to train them to use puppy pads. Establish routines and observe their body language. Maintaining stable daily routines will help your dog to more easily adapt to their new home. This provides stability and security in their environment. Establishing eating schedules, playtime, and resting periods will help the puppy know when they will have the opportunity to pee and anticipate the moment. Some signs a puppy is just about to urinate or defecate include the following: waking up from a long nap, it's been about 20 minutes since their last meal, they just had an intense play session, they are restless and walk quickly around the house, they begin to spin around and sniff the ground. When you notice any of these behaviours, it's time to redirect the puppy to the pad area and keep them there until they relieve themselves. It doesn't matter if they make a mistake at first and go just outside the pad, the important thing is to teach them where to go. Little by little, we can refine the exercise and will teach them not to go outside the pad. Use positive reinforcement and avoid punishment. Once the puppy is already associating the puppy pads with the toilet, we must ensure they always go to that place to relieve themselves rather than elsewhere in the home. Each time the puppy approaches the pad and relieves themselves, wait until they finish completely and then provide a lot of social reinforcement. This includes praise, petting and play. If we want, we can also give them a treat at the beginning. We must reinforce them even if they're not completely correct and they miss the pad a little. It's enough to reward going to the designated area. With patience, we can begin to reinforce with greater intensity only those occasions when they relieve themselves on the pad alone. We should never punish, hit or yell at a puppy for peeing or pooping outside of the pad. A puppy isn't going to learn anything through punishment and intimidation. The only thing we'll do is instill fear, make them scared of going to the toilet at all, and instill unwanted behaviours to avoid punishment. Discover other elements of puppy care with the first info video we share on the card above. Eliminate odours in the rest of the home. When the dog pees or poops in an area of the house, they leave an olfactory signal that invites them to return to that same place next time. To avoid this, we must clean the house thoroughly every time the puppy goes where they shouldn't, using enzymatic products or products that contain active oxygen. Other products such as bleach or ammonia are not able to completely eliminate these odours and further encourage the dog to urinate in the same place. Sometimes the puppy may prefer to urinate on objects that smell the most like us. This is also a response to an olfactory stimulus and we shouldn't punish the puppy for it. It's a natural behaviour and we should educate them to modify it and offer alternatives instead of scolding and causing confusion. The puppy can take anywhere from a few days to 3 weeks to be potty trained on pads. We must be patient, understanding and consistent. When to stop using puppy pads? When we've taught the puppy to relieve themselves on the pad consistently, we can begin to remove some. This usually begins at the moment the puppy starts to go outside. In this way, we start a transition period between peeing and pooping on the pad and starting to go when going for walks. In the next info video we share above, we see why dogs may pee inappropriately in the home. For a while, the puppy will relieve themselves on the street, but will continue to use the pads we have at home. When the tendency to do their business during the walk is greater than going at home, we'll completely remove all the pads and will only reinforce the behaviour of urinating and defecating in the street. Another fundamental pillar of puppy care is play, but there are both positive and negative ways to do it, as we explain next. The importance of play in puppies. Play behaviour is essential for a puppy's development and well-being. Some guardians think playing together is optional or something which they can do on their own, but games and play are instinctual to dogs, being important for their education and maturation. It's not a coincidence we see puppies play with their siblings and mother as soon as they can. It is their nature. How long to play with a puppy? There is no strict period of time you need to play with a puppy. How much play is beneficial will depend on their individual energy levels, age and type of game. Puppies sleep 18 to 20 hours a day. Although they can become very playful, they also tire easily and can usually only muster around 20 minutes per session. After this, they become exhausted and fall asleep. As your puppy grows, they will build greater endurance and stamina until they are adult and can often play upwards of an hour without tiring out. There are multiple game options you can play with your puppy. Let's see the main ones. Tug of war. This is a common game guardians play with their dogs, and it's a great way to satisfy their hunting instinct while receiving exercise. When you play, take a rope, toy or similar and try to remove it from the puppy. It's important you encourage them to let go, rewarding them appropriately when they do. We should reinforce this with a verbal instruction such as let go. We should also let them win periodically. This game helps to prevent your puppy developing resource protection problems and shows you will not steal their toys. It can also help them to drop items if they pick up something inappropriate in their mouth. On the card above, we share a video where we explain how to teach a puppy to play without biting. Chase. Playing chase with a ball or other toy will also be a way to tire out your puppy while satisfying their instincts. You can even alternate it with the tug of war by throwing the rope every time they release it in order to reinforce this behaviour. Scent games. We can use food or other aromas to help our puppy to play properly thanks to their keen sense of smell. Tracking games are more difficult for still developing puppies, but you can hide a treat and get the puppy to find it on their own, or do the same using a food puzzle game. You can also add words to help them learn their basic commands and associate them with the corresponding actions. Discover the best toys for dogs in the next video we share in the card. Proprioceptive games. Activities aimed at stimulating proprioception are those aimed at using the body's internal senses, aiding the perception of one's own movement, balance, and muscle tone. Games of this kind are made up of circuits in which the dog has to overcome different challenges, such as navigating different heights, obstacles, and terrains. Intelligence games. These kinds of games are those in which the dog has to solve a problem or overcome a challenge to achieve a goal, usually a treat. They are beneficial because they stimulate a puppy mentally and create patterns of behaviour out of trial and error processes which are applicable later in life. Solo games. It's vitally important your puppy also learns to entertain themselves from an early age. This can be through activities such as extracting food from a Kong, looking for hidden food, ropes, or even bones. This needs to be in a space where they can feel calm and safe. If the puppy learns to be alone without depending on their guardian, separation anxiety can be prevented when they have to be left home alone. In addition to playing with a puppy, it's important to teach them to play without biting. This means they'll inhibit their bite when an adult, as it causes serious damage and harm. Start the game yourself. To start a play session, you should always ensure the puppy is receptive. We need to respect their space and give them plenty of breaks. We should initiate a game with some sort of repeated phrase such as "let's play." In the daily life of a puppy, there will be situations where they demand you play with them and times when they want to be left alone. By showing you respect their boundaries, they will better learn to respect yours. On the other hand, if you always agree to their wishes, they will learn they will always get their way, making correct behaviour modification more complicated. This can cause them to call your attention in unwanted ways, such as breaking things, barking, or biting your feet. If your dog asks you to play at one of these times, you need to be indifferent and ignore them, only inviting them to play once they've given up. Teach them not to bite. During play activity, you will need to educate the puppy so they learn to inhibit their bite. Every time they bite you hard, you should say something to make them understand they've hurt you, such as "ouch," and then stop playing. In this way, they associate hard biting with the end of fun and better learn to control themselves. Discover the most common mistakes when training a puppy in the info video we share above. Offer puppy-appropriate toys. The toys or games you use should be varied to maintain their interest. They need to be safe for your pet, meaning they don't have toxic or other harmful elements. For example, a stick or pineapple could splinter and injure their mouth. In the same way, if the toy is broken or damaged, it would be better to get rid of it, as it could put your puppy at risk by injuring themselves or choking on a broken piece. You should also not allow your puppy to play with everyday items if you don't want them destroying them. These include slippers, newspapers, or even furniture. Instead, offer more suitable alternatives. In the card above, we share a video on the best toys for dogs. Teach them games adapted to their abilities. You must bear in mind that puppies should only play games which don't cause them more frustration than release. Intelligence and tracking games must be adapted to their abilities. We need to find the balance between not being too easy to avoid getting bored, but not being too difficult to avoid getting frustrated and associating them with something negative. You finish the game. Similar to initiating play sessions, you should be the one to indicate when a game comes to an end. Once your puppy has lost energy during play, but not when they have abandoned the activity completely, you need to preempt the end of the session. Communicate in some way by saying something like "we're done" and don't give in if they insist on playing. In this way, the puppy learns the activity has a beginning and end, making it easier for them to respect other commands. Lastly, it's recommended they always have access to an area where they can rest and play on their own. When you're unable to play, they must learn to respect your boundaries, and it helps them to know they have somewhere to express themselves. This prevents them biting us to demand play. Another factor to take into consideration when caring for a puppy is when they need bathing and how it's done properly.
Puppies are very fragile living beings and susceptible to suffer diseases within their environment. This is because their immune system has not fully developed yet. Until a month and a half or even 2 months of life, a puppy should not be separated from their mother under any circumstances. Their survival depends on her, and during this time we must provide them with tranquility and comfort in an isolated nest. It is very important not to bathe the puppy before weaning. If you do so, you could cause the mother to reject her puppy as she may not identify their scent as familiar. We should only bathe them if they are very dirty or infested with parasites. On the other hand, it is also necessary to take into account the vaccination schedule of the dog before the first bath. Occasionally, a dog will suffer from great stress during the first bath, which can lead to a poor immunological response to the vaccine. This is why vets recommend waiting for 1 or 2 weeks after the vaccination. Once we are clear on when to bathe the puppy for the first time, we will proceed to accumulate the appropriate tools. Warm ambient temperature, positive and relaxed atmosphere, puppy-specific shampoo, sponge, dog comb, rubber or soft dog comb, a bucket of water, towels and hair dryer. It is wise and convenient to prepare everything before running the puppy bath. We must provide them with a warm environment, which does not cause a thermal shock in the dog. If it is winter at the time, put the heating on for some time before starting the experience. We must emphasize that the bath is probably one of the most important moments of a puppy's life, since it is directly related to socialization. If you do not know, this is the process in which we present the puppy with all kinds of stimuli and experiences. Therefore, it is important to make it pleasant and positive for them, as they will enjoy the bath as adults. We will start by filling the bucket or the tub with warm water. It is important that the height of the water does not cover them too much, so they do not suffer stress or feel a sense of suffocation. Then, we will wet the puppy completely, avoiding their head. Never wet their eyes and ears. During this time, it is advisable to play with water and even add a toy to make the experience better and more fun. Once the puppy is soaked in water, we can proceed to apply a specific shampoo for puppies. Puppies have more delicate skin, so hydrate and protect them well. Shampoos for adult dogs are not recommended at all. During the bath, we will use a sponge and rubber comb to reach all nooks and crannies, thus applying it correctly. When we are finished, we should rinse thoroughly and remove all traces of shampoo. To finish, we will use 1 or 2 towels to fully wrap the puppy. This point is very important. The puppy should not be disturbed. Once the towels absorb the water well, proceed to use the dryer at a low setting with a low heat so that the dog does not become scared or feel uncomfortable. Everything should remain relaxed and comfortable for the puppy. After bathing a puppy for the first time, we can begin to bathe them regularly whenever they are dirty or smelly. However, the ideal time for the bath should be between 20 and 60 days. That's because dogs have a layer of fat that protects their skin. If we abuse the bathroom, we will be destroying their protective layer. To prevent this from happening, it will be highly recommended to buy a moisturizing puppy shampoo, which protects their skin well from regular contact with water, thus preventing it from drying out. Do not forget that regular brushing helps to eliminate dead hair and dirt and should be one of the main hygiene routines.
Finally, we're going to provide some tips to getting a puppy used to being alone so they don't become insecure when you leave the home.
At what age can we leave a puppy alone? When a puppy moves in with us, they feel insecure and need time to get used to their surroundings. Everything is new: the environment, the people, and any other animals which may be around. If we leave them alone at the beginning, they can get stressed and panic. We need to be patient and get them used to being alone progressively. Ideally, they should be accompanied for the first 5 to 7 weeks after their arrival, after which we can gradually teach them to be alone. Discover in this video how to give a puppy a proper welcome when they arrive in your home. How long can they be alone? A puppy of less than 4 months of age shouldn't be left alone for more than 2 hours in total. When they are an adult, they shouldn't be alone for more than 6 hours. How to get a puppy used to being alone? To help a puppy become more independent, we should start with gentle exercises. For example, when they are busy playing with a toy, leave the room for a minute and then return. This way they can learn that you will return even if they have been left alone for a moment. After getting them used to being alone for a minute, the difficulty can be increased. At this point, we should leave the room when they are not distracted. Stay outside for 2 minutes and then return to the room. The most important thing is that you do it in a calm and relaxed way, giving them no reason to feel frightened. If the puppy cries when you are gone, ignore them. Reduce the length the next time you are away and praise them for being calm. If the puppy manages to be alone for several minutes at a time, you can start to leave the house. Don't do it when they are sleeping so they can know your behaviour. It is best not to say goodbye to them so they can see it as a normal, common practice. First go for a few minutes to take out the trash or check the mailbox. If you remain calm, the puppy will pick up on it. When the puppy tolerates these brief absences without problem, we can increase the duration and vary the time so they can get used to the unpredictability of our leaving. Once at this point, you can increase the intervals again. To help them feel calm in our absence, you can use the following tips. Establish a routine. Take the puppy out every day at the same time before you go to work or leave the home. Encourage exercise to help tire them out physically and mentally. A puppy needs a minimum of 30 minutes for an exercise walk. This way they will relax when you return home and rest when home alone. However, we need to remember they are still developing, so ensure we don't overwork them when exercising. Take into account feeding times. Remember that your puppy should eat before you leave, but puppies often vomit their food from the stress of being left alone. Feed them with enough time to spare so their food can settle, helping them to relax. Prepare a quiet place for them. Create a safe space with toys, bedding, food and water at hand. It has to be somewhere safe where they cannot destroy anything. However, don't lock them in a small room or tie them down, as this can make them feel trapped. Not only is it cruel and harmful to leave a dog tied up for hours, they will associate this feeling with being alone. Be careful with choking. Don't leave your puppy treats or toys they can choke on. We always need to be careful with bones and treats, but remember they may break toys or other objects to pieces and try to ingest them. If you want to know more about what you should take into account when taking care of a puppy, don't miss the complete guide that we share here. Provide ambient noise. Some dogs react well to soothing piano music, radio or television noise. Try to calm them down by leaving the TV on with the sound low so they can feel accompanied. Call for help. If you have to leave your puppy alone for more than 2 hours, ask your neighbour or a friend to come see them or even take them for a walk. Keep in mind that puppies still can't last that long without relieving themselves.
And here is our complete guide to caring for a puppy. Don't miss the playlist we share here if you want to continue learning more about how to take care of a puppy, and we'll see you next time.